Have you ever been teaching and there's a lot of side conversations going on? It happens all the time. So let me just be totally transparent with you. When I'm teaching, sometimes when I'm working with adults and doing a conference or something like that, there's a lot of side conversations going on. So the first thing, though, is you can't assume that the participants in your classroom are not listening, that they're not paying attention. Okay, so don't assume that, because then you'll take it personally and it might upset you. But when kids are having side conversations, there's two things you can do. One is always make sure kids know that you are going to allow for conversation to happen. Many of you have heard me talk about talk time, and I can't even stress enough how important it is to say, guys, save it for talk time, or save it for conversation, or save it for breakout. Make sure those kids know that every so often in your classroom, they can just talk to one another. Because one thing we know for sure is that kids don't talk to each other enough because they're kind of doing this all the time. So we want to make sure that they have that ability to have conversations. The other is you can always use what I call the close proximity. Something I learned a long time ago. I remember I asked a question when I was a student teacher. I said, oh my gosh, these kids in the back are talking and they won't stop, even when I say stop talking. And a mentor said to me, Polly, just walk back there while you're teaching. And I was like, oh, never thought of that. So I walked back there, and you know what? They don't want you standing next to them while they're having side conversations. So oftentimes it does stop. It gives them the message without having to interrupt your thought process. So don't be offended. Don't take it personally. Don't assume they're not talking about what you're teaching. But in my classrooms with kids, oftentimes they are talking about the weekend, and that's going to happen. So encourage conversation, but when it's okay, and tell them that. Be very open about saying conversation time. Guys, save that for conversation. You got this. And just then use the other technique of just walking close in close proximity and see if that helps.